Good evening, everyone. We will get started here in a few moments, give folks a chance to jump on and join us. Thank you for joining me tonight on Meaningful Conversations with Dr. Devin Oten. I think we got a good topic tonight. We're talking about are we too busy to live? We'll get into the nuts and bolts of what I mean by posing that question, right? Are we too busy to live? I think sometimes we get caught up in the mundane things of everyday life. We're so super ultra focused on the task ahead of us, work, goals, all of those things. And we'll look up and life has passed us by. We really didn't get a chance to live life as we build life, right? So tonight we're going to talk about that. Once again, thank you for joining me tonight. If you haven't already, please go to my YouTube channel, Meaningful Conversations with Dr. Devin Oten, and make sure you subscribe, like, follow, hit the bell so you are alerted when we go live or I drop some content, some videos, and share. Share it with your friends, your colleagues, your family, those in your sphere of influence. If you feel that this is good content that will help us continue to grow the station, grow the channel, grow our content, and get it further into the algorithm where it's being shared with other people so we can continue to grow. Alexa, pause. Once again, thank you for joining me on Meaningful Conversations with Dr. Devin M. Oten Sr. Of course, I am Dr. Devin, and I appreciate you being here with me tonight. Tonight, we're talking about are we too busy to live? Uh, our calendars are full, our phones, they never stop ringing. Our inboxes are overflowing with messages. We're constantly moving, but are we really living? Many people are checking every box except the ones that matter most: relationships, peace, purpose, and being present, right? Being intentional about being present in the moment. So, in this episode of Meaningful Conversations tonight, we will explore how busyness, just being busy, has become a badge of honor, right? We're so busy, it's a badge of honor for us. Like we got so much going on. And I'm not saying that we don't, but it has become a badge of honor for many of us. Why slowing down is not the same as falling behind. We can get those two confused or inflated, if you will, and how living very intentionally may be the key to a more meaningful life. Because one day we'll look up and we'll ask ourselves the same question: did I spend my life or did I simply spend my time? I'll say that again. One day we're going to look up and we're going to ask ourselves that question: did I spend my life or did I simply spend my time? Welcome back again to Meaningful Conversations. Once again, if you haven't had a chance to go out and subscribe to the channel, please go out and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Meaningful Conversations with Dr. Devin Oten. Tonight, I want to ask you a question that has challenged me personally. Are we too busy to live? Are you too busy to live? Are we too busy to live? Hey, babe, think about your week. How many times have you said, I've just been so busy? I've been so busy. It's become our default response. Busy at work, busy at church or our places of worship, busy with family, the kids, the grandkids, uh, busy with meetings, right? Michelle came in, and even earlier, she told me she had been in all these meetings today, right? Busy with all of the responsibilities of life that we have at the house, at the job, right? In the community, the good community service that we do, the volunteer service that we do, busy answering emails, busy chasing goals, busy surviving. But here's the question that we got to answer. We got to answer this question. When was the last time you truly enjoyed your life? When was the last time you really thought about it? Man, I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying my life. I'm enjoying the journey that I'm on, right? Whether it's in school, whether it's, climbing that corporate ladder, right? Whether it's, doing some meaningful things in missions and, community service and nonprofit work. Think about it. When was the last time you truly enjoyed your life? Not rushed through it. We get so busy, we rushing through, we trying to complete these tasks and these goals. Not just managed your life, not just survived it, actually lived it, right? Think about that. So tonight, let's talk about it. For our first segment, let's talk about busyness has become a status symbol. Yeah, that's a status symbol for a lot of us, being busy, right? Somewhere along the way, busy became nothing or something that we brag about. It just became something that we brag about. Oh, yeah, I was so busy. I've been doing this, I've been doing that. I had this task in front of me, that task in front of me. But being busy, it doesn't necessarily mean we're being effective. I tell you one thing, you've probably heard me say this before on the podcast. I despise busy work. I don't like busy work. Don't come around me with busy work. I want meaningful work. I want efficient work. I want to do effective work, right? I want to do work that makes impact. I don't like all that busy stuff, shuffling papers and, working on stuff that really doesn't have the meaning that we needed to have, right? Or the impact that we needed to have. So, activity, being busy, uh, does not necessarily mean we're being productive, right? We run around saying that we're being productive, but actually it's just activity. A lot of busy stuff going on, right? So I want you to think about that as we get to our next segment. Busyness has become a status symbol for many of us, right? We brag about how busy we are and how many projects we got going on and just all of these different moving parts, and it's become that status symbol for us. But man, we got to stop and make sure it's not just activity, but we're actually being effective. We need to be measuring impact, measuring effectiveness, right? Successful companies, that's what they do, man. They're measuring success, they're measuring effectiveness, they're measuring impact, not just, okay, I got all of this busy stuff going on. Hello, cuz, good to see you. Thank you for joining us tonight. So, activity isn't always productivity, all right? Now, let's get on to our next segment. The moments we miss. Oh my goodness, I have missed some moments on this journey. I had to learn how to be present, how to be intentional in my presence in the family of those, in the presence of those who mean the most to me, families, friends, the church work I was doing as a senior pastor, not just doing the work, but being present, right? So we miss a lot of moments. Dr. Johnson, good to see you. Man, I've just been encouraged by what you do, you and the family and the travels, your new book. I'm waiting for I got my advanced copy, looking for my advanced copy to come in here real soon. Hi, Dr. K. Good to see you. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Let me see what we have here. Okay. Yes, let's see. Dr. Paul Johnson says, hey, Dr. Oden, good evening, brother. I hear you. You know that I've changed my priorities over the past couple years, and now I try to enjoy living my life each day. I probably took going through my most recent birthday to wake me up, but I'm there now. Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. And I see you are enjoying yourself. You guys have been all over the place. You and Ricola and Rome. You guys have been doing some incredible things, and it's real encouraging and motivational for me, right? To start living, start enjoying more and more and more. We got to get back to that. Michelle and I, we used to, jump in the car. I would come home, on a Friday and say, hey, pack a bag. She was real good about putting, a quick bag together, and we just jump in the car and drive down the coast, and go to Capitola or to Carmel, or drive down to LA or something like that. So we got to get back to that, because we get busy. We've done the education, right, Dr. Johnson, Dr. Paul, and we pursued that. That was a lot of work, working while we were doing it, and then getting back into that career mode and building, those sorts of things, those processes, and all those sorts of things. And sometimes we get so caught up that we miss critical moments. Our children grow up, our parents grow older, friendships begin to fade, right? We're not in touch as much because we're so busy. Opportunities pass us by, they go over our head, great opportunities that would change our life, our trajectory, change our quality of life, right? And life doesn't wait for our schedules to clear up, right? We sitting around here waiting for life and the schedule that we have in life to clear up for us. It does not work like that. We have to make sure we are intentional to do those things that we enjoy in life. I used to go hiking almost every weekend, just beautiful places here in California, Bolinas, California, out in Mill Valley. And I've had a chance to hike Yosemite several times, hiking down at Lake Tahoe. Just all of these wonderful places. Haven't been hiking in quite some time. Yeah, I need to get back out there. Those are the things that I really enjoy. And Michelle, she would go with me. We'd drive up to a hike in Yosemite, and I'd go hiking, and she'd stay in the car, or sit by the river, or go to, the little store or the little shop in the park. And she enjoyed doing that while I went out hiking. So we got to focus on not missing those great moments in our lives, because life is not going to wait for your schedule to clear up. It's just not going to happen. And if you're not careful, your schedule will continue to fill up with all of that busy stuff, all of that activity. And you'll look around and say, man, life has passed me by. So, what meaningful moments, uh, or better yet, a question, what meaningful moments have you postponed because you've been so busy? I want you to think about that for a minute. What meaningful moments have you postponed because you were too busy, too distracted, right? Too preoccupied with building and reaching goals and all of those things. I want you to think about that for a moment. Write that down. What meaningful moments have you postponed? One comes to mind. I've been wanting to um, take Michelle to this spot in Southern California. Dr. K, you and I and Ria and Raina talked about this some months ago. There's a spot I want to surprise her with that I found online, and people going down there and enjoying it. I was like, man, we need to go there. That's something that I postponed for a long time. That's just one of the things that I can think of. So by me thinking about that, now I have to put that on the schedule. I have to put that on the calendar, because I got to stop postponing these meaningful moments. And I know Michelle, this is the type of place where she would thoroughly enjoy the ambiance, the atmosphere, the food, the activities, right? So let's transition into our next segment: success without presence. Success without presence. You can provide for your family. Man, I remember And Dr. Paul, you are quite familiar with this because that's how our paths cross. When I was with I Am Diversity, I Am Minorities Inc., Black Collegian, National Black MBA Association. We were, just building these great tools and great resources and websites and magazines, all these interactive opportunities that we had online, we were building, and I was providing very well for my family. But are you present with them, right? At that time, I must admit, I did take the time to make sure I was present, bring my family along with me, take trips, do things, make sure I stayed engaged, right? Even though I had a lot of stuff going on, building, a church and missions and, building this business with the owners of that business, building my own businesses, right? I mean, you can attend church as an example. You can attend church, but are you spiritually growing in that church? You can lead an organization, but are you leading yourself well, right? That's what I mean by saying success without presence. You can provide for your family and you can not be present with them. You can miss critical moments for your children. You can attend church, but you may not even be developing and growing and maturing spiritually. You can lead an organization, do great things within an organization, but are you leading yourself well? Are you taking care of yourself, your mental health, your physical health, all of those sorts of things, right? Your social health. So, presence is one of the greatest gifts we can give. How many times have we been with some people and we just knew that they were not present? We couldn't wait to go spend that time with these friends, these family members, and they just weren't present. It happens with our kids, with our grandkids, right? Because of these smart devices that we have. We're in the room together trying to talk, and they on the phone, they on the tablet, distracted the whole time. Got to get their attention the whole time. Snap your fingers. Excuse me, pay attention, right? I'm trying to talk to you. I'm trying to vibe with you. So, presence is one of those greatest gifts that we can give to each other and that someone can give to you and me. Being present, it's a gift, being available, right, to connect because we're not connecting on social media like we think we are. That's all about activity. It's all about the latest drama that's going on in so many ways. Don't get me wrong, social media is great. There's a lot of great tools and resources out there, and we, enjoy being on social media. We learn a lot being on social media. We can connect and build new relationships on social media, but sometimes we get so distracted that we are not present. And as we talked about earlier, what's important is those relationships, right? The community in which we live. I say it all the time. I believe it, that God created us to be in community, not to be alone, not to be trying to do this life thing by ourselves, right? Right? And one of the great clues that he gave us was very early on in Genesis. He said, "It is not good for man to be alone," right? So then he made woman, right? So man wouldn't be alone. So he showed us very early on that community is very important. Matter of fact, even before that, the scripture tells us that the Godhead, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, they would come down in the cool of the day, right? And fellowship with Adam and Eve. So the community of the Godhead, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, would come down and fellowship with the community of man on earth, Adam and Eve. So community is so important. Now, for our next segment, let's talk specifically about what really matters. What really matters. At the end of life, people rarely wish they had attended one more meeting. Think about that. When we see that clock is ticking, you know, I don't remember ever hearing someone say, "Man, I wish I would have just went to more meetings at work. I wish I would have created, you know, more processes." I never hear that. What I hear a lot of times is people say, "Man, I really wish um, I would have spent more time with my spouse, my significant other. Really wish I would have been more present with my children. I really wish I'd have been more active, right, in the lives of my grandchildren." People, we don't say that when it comes to the end, right? Of course, you're going to have some outliers, some exceptions to the rule. But generally, we wish we had loved more. We wish we had laughed more. We wish we had forgiven more or forgiven sooner, right? Instead of walking around holding all of these grudges, right? Holding all of this anger and holding all of this resentment. We're going to wish we had forgiven sooner and forgiven more. Yes. Yes, Dr. Paul, exactly. What did you do with your dash? Yes. So we're going to wish we had done all of these things. We're going to wish we had spent more time with our family. We're going to wish we had spent more time with friends. I got a close friend of mine, Rodney Whitney Jr., down in Florida. We grew up together. And I mean, almost every time we talk, he says, "Man, we got to get together. We got to get all our boys together, the wives, and do a cruise or do a trip somewhere." Always. Um, and we need to do that because if not, we are going to say, "You know what? Man, at the end, I wish I would have taken that trip. I wish I would have pursued that. I wish I would have been the first one to raise my hand to say, yes, let's spend this time together because time is so precious. We're just too busy to live and enjoy this great life that God has given us. So we're going to wish we had spent more time with our family and friends. We're going to wish we had pursued their purpose, right? Instead of just always pursuing our purpose. I want you to think about that for a minute. We are so concerned about self, looking inward. So many times we don't stop and look outward, helping others pursue their purpose. The things that I'm doing now, I'm thinking about these things. How do I help others pursue their purpose in life, right? And a lot of that is me pursuing my purpose, helping others pursue their purpose. So think about this. Don't become so busy making a living, climbing that corporate ladder, achieving these goals and these obstacles that we, set before ourselves to overcome, to hurdle these obstacles, that we forget to make a life and forget to enjoy life. Hi, Dr. Keisha Wright. Yes, that's my sorrow there, down in New Orleans. Thank you for joining us tonight. All right, segment 5. This is segment 5. We're talking about living intentionally or living with intentionality. Dr. K, that's your word. We would be in those meetings and you would say all the time, you wanted us to be intentional in the work that we were doing, right? So living intentionally is critical for us not to be so busy. Got all this activity going on and missing life. So living intentionally means asking. You got to ask yourself a few questions. What deserves my best energy? Living intentionally, you got to ask yourself some questions. The very first question is, what deserves my best energy? My goodness, we are taking our best energy and wasting it on malcontents, wasting it on the scripture calls it, sowing your pearls among swine, right? Okay. I know that sounds kind of harsh, but it makes it a very real point. We got these pearls that have been given to us, all of this talent and gifts and intellectual property, and we are wasting our best energy on people who will not actually utilize what we're giving them to improve their life and improve their situation. So now you got to recalibrate. We got to recalibrate. We got to figure out how to uh, use our best energy, who to use our best energy on, who to share our best energy with. Yes, Dr. K, myself, my faith, and my fam. Yes. Amen. So who deserves my best energy? You got to ask yourself that. And there are going to be some people that you think deserve your best energy, but they have shown you that they do not. I've shared this before. I want to share it again. I can remember, I'm running two boys and girls clubs down in New Orleans, right? And I had some seniors in high school who came to the club every day, who helped me with the younger kids, volunteered, helped with tutoring. I mean, they would come in there. They grew up in the club and they wanted to give back to the club, and they would put their time in. And two of them in particular came to me after their graduation and told me, they said, you know what, we really wanted and really desired more attention from you, but you were so busy dealing with other kids who never or made marginal progress, right? Marginal change, you know. And there were a lot of them. I mean, going down to the courts, going down to the jails, talking to judges, trying to help the family, so on and so forth. And sometimes, this is life. Some people are going to get it. Some people are going to want to get it. Some people are going to improve. And others are like, I'm not interested in that. I don't want that. I'm going down this path and I really wish you would leave me alone. And I was using my best energy. And I'll never forget, these two young men came to me and said, man, we wanted more attention from you. We really wanted, that more engagement with you, but you were so busy and distracted with others who really did not want, neither appreciated or even adopted uh, the energy and the effort that you were putting into their lives. And it changed me. Those two young men came to me, changed my focus. Don't get me wrong, I still would give some energy to those who, had, just issues in life. But I made sure to remember that I had these other kids who were helping me do what I needed to do in the community. I made sure I put my best energy into them and helping them do the things that they wanted to do as well. So, you know, think about who deserves your best energy. Think about who deserves your best attention. Think about, what legacy am I creating? So sometimes the most productive thing you and I can do is pause. Sometimes the most productive, constructive thing you and I can do is to just pause, right? So, it's my custom to always have a faith perspective. And our faith perspective tonight and this topic that we're talking about comes from Psalms 46 and verse 10. It says, be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. This social media environment that we're in, it's challenging us. It's encouraging us to be busy, to be active, to be distracted, in a lot of ways, to be confused, all these different varying viewpoints. But we got to be still. Stillness is not laziness. Being still is an invitation to remember what matters most in your life and in my life. Be still pause, reflect, reassess, recalibrate, refresh. That's what that pause, that still represents. It's simply an invitation to remember what matters most. Now, it's our custom to ask a few questions. I want to challenge you to think about these things. You can share your responses in the chat. But think about this. What keeps you the busiest right now? What is it that you're doing that keeps you the busiest right now? Write that down. Think about that. Man, what is it that's keeping me real busy right now? And once you determine what's keeping you so busy right now, determine if that busy work that you're doing with the thing that's keeping you busy is actually generating positive net gains, generating positive impact. And if it's not, now you need to consider, should I even be doing this? Or maybe I need to reassess this. I need to tweak this. I need to change this. But what's keeping you the busiest right now? Have you ever been so busy that you missed an important moment? Have you ever been so busy that there was an important moment that you needed to be present for and you missed it because you were so busy? Think about that. Write it down. Think about it. Write it down. I can think of several. So, you know what I've done? I have made a mental note that I will not miss a moment like that again. What's the one thing you've been putting off? Now, before I go to the next question, the reason I said that is because if we don't make these mental notes, if we don't write this down, if we don't consider, if we don't think about these things, it will repeat itself. It's going to happen again. You're going to miss a critical moment again because you hadn't put any thought, any effort into considering what's important. And should I have missed that? What I doing so busy, so important, should I say, or so critical that I couldn't take some moments and be a part of this important moment in life? Next question. What's one thing you've been putting off because life feels too full, too busy? You're too preoccupied. What's that one thing you've been putting off? Excuse me, because life feels just too complicated, if you will. Some of you have been wanting to learn how to play golf, right? I've had some conversations and you've been putting it off. Oh, I'm just so busy. I work all week and, I'd like to go out and take some lessons on Saturday, but then on Saturday, I got to do stuff around the house and this and that and the other. That's just one example. Let's see. Question 4. How do you create space for rest, relationships, and reflection? How do you create it? How do you create space for rest, relationships, and reflection? One of the great Bible teachers of my generation was Dr. Frederick Casey Price of Crenshaw Christian Center in Los Angeles, California. God rest his soul. I learned so much from the man, right? The man was just a scholar. Uh, he was so practical in his approach and his biblical teachings. And I remember hearing him say something, this is way back in the 80s, that was different. I had never heard anybody say it. And he and his wife, it was a family conference, and he and his wife were sharing that they would schedule each week. They would make sure they had it on the schedule, times that they could be intimate. And of course, we're conditioned and oriented to think that to be intimate with your spouse, it has to be, spontaneous, and it has to be organic and all these other things. And listening to the way they taught that, it revolutionized the way I think about how we make a calendar, how we put a schedule together, even when it comes to intimacy. So if it's scheduled, right, it's calendared, right, that means it's important to us. All right. So we can prepare ourselves too, right? Because we know we got this schedule, this time we're going to spend together. We're going to have dinner, we're going to have roses, candy, whatever, however you want to do this. Uh, and we're going to spend this intimate time together. So, how do you create space for rest, relationships, and reflection? That's just an example that I thought of from Dr. Frederick Casey Price from 30 plus years ago. Last question. If your schedule reflected your priorities, what would it say about your life? If your schedule reflected your priorities, what would it say about your life? I want you to think about that. Now, it's our custom. I always like to challenge us to do something this week, right? We listen to a lot of experts talk about a lot of things. There's some key takeaways that we grab from these talks. But a lot of times we walk away and we don't have any direction on what the next steps are, what it is that we should do now moving forward. So it's my custom on my podcast to always have a segment where we talk about what's the one thing I can do this week. What's the one thing you and we can do this week? So choose one evening this week to be fully present. Just one evening. Excuse me. Choose one evening this week that you can be fully present with someone who's important, someone or someone's, people that you value and that are important to you. Let's see. Dr. K said, I live by my calendar, allow for my me time, family activities, work, etc. This keeps me balanced. Yes. And balance is critical, right? Balance is so critical in everything that we do. So here's some takeaways for this week, some things we can do, implement this week. Choose one evening this week to be fully present. Turn off the phone. Hello. Turn off that phone. Share a meal with a family or a friend, right? Take a walk. And hopefully you can take a walk with someone who's important to you, someone you have a relationship with, and you can just walk and talk, right? I get out and, I walk around the lake here in our community. Really, I've been getting out almost every day for the past week. And like clockwork, there's certain groups of people, women, guys, they're out there every day walking and talking with each other while they're out there walking. They're just talking and fellowshipping with each other while they walk around the lake. So take a walk with someone. Take a walk with yourself, by yourself, and spend some time with yourself, right? That still time we talked about, you know, be still and know that He is God. Pause, right? So call someone you've been meaning to connect with. You've been putting it off. This happens to me, if not daily, several times a week, where there's someone that hits my mind, hits my brain that I need to call, or I need to email, or I need to text, and I forget, and or get busy and don't follow through with making that connection. So call someone you've been meaning to connect with. Here's one: read a book. Take some time, read a book. Here's a good one: pray. That'll help you get, pause and be still, right? Pray. And another thing I would recommend that we do this week is that we reflect. Reflect. I don't think we do that enough. I know some of us do. I think a lot of us don't do this enough. Stop and reflect. on what we did this week, what really worked, what didn't work, right? What changes we should probably implement, what things we should probably stop doing, right? We need to do that more, at least once a week. Reflect on your week. So give yourself permission to slow down, not because you're giving up, but because you're making room for what truly matters. So remember this, full calendar doesn't mean, doesn't always mean or equal to a full life. Being constantly busy is not the same as being deeply fulfilled. When I thought about, some of these things I wanted to share, I said, man, being constantly busy, all this activity, all of these distractions, it's not necessarily the same as being deeply fulfilled. Yeah, we need to be working toward being deeply fulfilled with our life and the activities that we have in life. Remember this: the people who matter most, they rarely ask, they rarely ask you and I for more of our money. The people who matter most, people who really value you, and the people you really value. Of course, you got some people that's all it's about for them is what you can do for them, right? But the people who really matter the most to you, they very rarely ask you for more, for instance, money. What they really ask for is more of your time, more of your attention, more of your presence. So, presence is going to be remembered long after presents or gifts are forgotten. I'll say that again. Presence will be long remembered, more so than the gifts or the presents that we give to people. So life is measured in moments, not in all those meetings. So before we end the night, take a look at your calendar. Let me say this before we close. If you have not gone out to my YouTube channel, Meaningful Conversations with Dr. Devin Oten, please go out and subscribe to my channel. Make sure you hit that bell so you're alerted, share with your family, your friends. Please go and comment and like the videos and the content that helps to grow the channel. Um, and man, it would be so awesome if I was able to get 17 people, at least 17 people, to go on the channel and subscribe tonight. So before we end the night, take a look at your calendar. Now ask yourself, does my schedule reflect the life I say I want? When you look at that calendar, ask yourself, does my schedule reflect the life that I believe, that I say, that I talk about, that I want? If not, maybe the answer isn't finding more to do, putting more stuff on the calendar, on the schedule. Maybe the answer is just choosing what you do better, choosing where that best energy, that best attention is supposed to go. Because the goal isn't simply to make a living. I know we've been trained, especially in the United States of America. I mean, we have been conditioned and oriented to work. And don't get me wrong, that's why uh, our nation is so progressive and leads in so many different industries in the world. But you go to other places, man, people have learned to get that work balance straight, right? They have learned to balance life, balance work with, of course, making a living, but also enjoying life and enjoying our family and spending time and investing in our family and friends. So our goal isn't just to make a living. Our goal is to build a life worth remembering. I say this all the time. A life well lived is one of the most valuable characteristics, one of the most valuable things you and I can leave in this earth. A life well lived. And of course, there's a lot of components to what a life well lived is. But helping people attain their goals and being charitable and empathetic is a number of different other branches or tentacles to that. And maybe that's something we'll talk about in another episode. So thank you for joining me tonight for another meaningful conversation. If this episode has encouraged you in any way, challenged you in any way, or reminded you to slow down and appreciate the people around you, share it with someone who may need this sort of reminder. Share this episode with them. So let's choose purpose over pressure, presence over performance, and relationships over relentless, unstopping, unstopping. I didn't want to say unstopping, but just that relentless, all the time, unwavering commitment to being busy, right? So until next time, thank you. Thank you, Dr. K. Thank you all for joining me tonight. Until next time, stay focused, stay faithful, and keep becoming the person you're called to be. All right. See you soon. And thanks for joining me tonight, everyone. All right. Thank you, Dr. Paul, for joining me as well. Thank you. God bless. Have a good night, everyone.